What's happening? How are you doing? It's another day, another moment for us to, you know, for you to watch this content. And before I even get started, I want to to do a big shout out to Sony for the designs. I know I've been doing this, a few videos I've done with some really cool outfits, and that is designs by Sony. So shout out to her. And if you're watching this, shout out to you, Mudhoni. Thank you for the good work. Endelea na hiyo kazi namna hiyo. Thank you for making me look all this nice. Yeah. So it's another day, another beautiful, a wonderful day. Coffee kama kawaida. I should make this a sip and talk kind of conversation. I still haven't decided on what this is. But itajipa tu. You know, sometimes you just start. Iende kwenye itaenda, iunde venye, as in it will fix and figure it out. So I'm not in a rush or pressure. Hii itajipeleka kwenye itaenda. This is just me speaking my thoughts and just being able to come here and do this video and just talk about what is in my life, in my heart, and just open up and speak as it is. So this week, it's been a very, very cold week. Or should I say this last week has been a very, very cold week. So when it's normally that cold, I don't do much. Nimejiset in a way that during this cold season, I do very little so that I have a lot of time to myself. Todo, hapa nataka pneumonia. Nie. So I read a quote this week that it's something that it's like a mantra that I have been living on, but I didn't know there was such a quote like that until this week when I was going through my phone and either it was Facebook or my Instagram, and I found this quote and I was like, this makes sense because this is how I live my life. So staki kuwaeka sana hapa, so let's get into the quote. This quote says something like this: if your absence doesn't affect them, your presence never mattered to them. Now, it's a quote that I have lived on. Like, I just read it this week for the first time, but it's something that I realized that my life has been on. I've been living, my life on this quote, bila kujua. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes utajikuta there is a quote, you read something that is outstanding and you can relate it with your life. If your absence doesn't bother them, then your presence never really mattered to them. Now you can use this either in relationships, you can use this in if you're employed, you're formally employed, and you're a diligent person. Okay, nimesema vitu mbili. You can use it either on your line of career or relationship or whatever, or even family. That sometimes you go through something, and let me just put it into something real. So a few years ago, I was going through this very rough patch. That's from like 2016, 2017, where I lost everything and I had to go back to Ocha and restart my life, and then, slowly pick up and then come back and start my life all over. And just before that season of my life, I was a worship leader. I was a musician, the whole works. I was in ministry, I was in church, and I was serving, and I was diligent. And I was there every Sunday and every other day that I was needed to be in service. I was there. And then, just like life happens to all of us, righteous or not, life just happens. Haimanishi just because you you're righteous, that everything will be flowing, or just because you're bad that things will not be flowing. No, life happens to all of us. Kukinyesha kunanyeshanga kwa mwizi na kwa mkulima. I know I'm not making sense, but I mean, it is what it is. Just follow my thought. So I went through this very, very rough patch where I was forced to move back to my father's house. And remember, I was serving, I was leading worship, I was doing all this. And then life happened and I had to go back Ocha. And that means I was not available as much as I was before. And during this time, which was a very big, beautiful, eye-opening moment for me, I realized that the people I was leading, the people I was diligently serving, when I left, nobody bothered. Nobody bothered to, how is this guy? Where did this guy go? Nobody really seemed to care. So nobody reached out. Nobody asked me how my life was. But everybody knew what was happening because, I mean, you're not there. So people know your place. They know they cannot see you there. They saw you auctioned. And nobody reached out. They moved on with their lives kama kawaida. And at this point, I started asking myself, why am I doing this? If me being there, serving there, and then now all of a sudden I'm going through this moment and nobody seems to care, why am I serving? It seems like these people don't care at all. So, as shocking as it was for me, because I thought people cared, oh my God, they care for me, they're not going to let me sink. A lot changed during that time because I was alone. I went through this very hard time by myself. And so by the time I was coming back, a lot had changed. My perception, the way I looked at people, I started seeing, the whole pretentious, we are family. We are family, we are a family. If you ever hear people telling you that, nimesema hivyo kwa video ingine hapo before, just know, wewe ndio unaokotwa. So by the time I was coming back, a whole lot had changed. As much as my situation now began to change again and I started to pick my pieces up again, pole pole, people's hearts were revealed during this time. And I was like, that's how you see me. Oh, so it was like an eye-opening moment for me. That's why you always hear this statement, every setback is a setup for a greater comeback. And so for me, I'm very reserved, so I get to see a lot of things, nikikaa tu chini hivi in quietness, I get to see things that people normally wouldn't see. So by the time I was coming back, I was like, I do not want to do this again. I do not want to do this ever again. I'm never going to live my life to please people again. And so I got back on my feet and picked myself up and I moved on and I began living my life, separate from this that I had known. I no longer served in church. Hell, I no longer even went to church after that. And my life since then has been based, has been in line with this quote, even though sikuwa najua kuhusu hiyo quote. So I kept telling myself, if me being away, watu wameendelea na life yao kama siku kuanga, why should I even be a part of that anymore? So, of course, like I said, you can take that quote and put it even in your relationships. Most of you, if you've been following my content, know that the last 4 years I've been going through a healing journey. After my marriage ended, so I've been going through this journey of healing. And I've done a lot of videos since then, because that's when I actually started doing videos 4 years ago. August of 2021 is when I actually started doing these videos and coming here, and I mean, I was no longer on radio, so I decided it's time for me to now just come here and just speak. Venye tu nimezoea kuongea kwa radio, air my opinions, share what I'm feeling at the moment. And so even as I've been going through this healing journey, I didn't know this quote. I just read this quote this week, but I realized that my life is aligned towards that if my absence doesn't affect them, then my presence really never mattered to them. So why force issues? I mean, it is what it is. You cannot force yourself into people's lives. If your absence doesn't matter, doesn't affect them at all, then just know wewe ndio ulikuwa kirai. Wewe ndio ulikuwa you are the kirai. You are the one being played here. So always make sure that in everything you do, in your relationships, in your daily, in your business, in your workplace, that your presence actually matters to them. Because if your presence matters, when you're not there, it will be felt. And then you get yourself to a place where you are actually needed. Every one of us desires and longs to be at a place where we are valued, and most of all, we are needed. So if you get to a place where you're not needed, bro, it's time for you to leave. Because if your absence does not affect even your workplace, if you being absent, your siku, does not affect your whole situation, then know that your presence, it doesn't matter there. So there's a very, I'll finish with this statement that's inasemanga, go to where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. So nikishikanisha hiyo quote na ile ya mbele, if you're absent, if you go to a place where you're celebrated, then that means you matter there. Where you're tolerated, they're not going to feel you if you're not there. Ile siku hauko, nobody will feel. Life will continue as if you don't even exist. People will live their lives like they will forget about you. That's what happens when somebody dies. We always have this mindset that I'll do good and nini, so that when I die, people will care. No, people don't care. Because ile siku utadedi, ukishazikwa, immediately after, kila mtu ataendelea na shughuli yake. Immediately after they put your body to the ground, life will continue like you never existed. So live your life by your standards. Stop living your life to please people. These are the same people who will not remember you minutes after your body is in the ground. So I always say this, make your life a big deal. I did this is a video I did yesterday. Make your life such a big deal to you, because you're the one who matters. In this equation, in this whole equation, you matter to you, and make that a big deal. Do things for yourself that normally you do for others. If you take others out, I mean, nimekuwa nikiambia hata one of the guys that I work with at the shop, and I've been telling him, the other day kulikuwa na safari rari, and so he took his girlfriend. They did this Naivasha ride. They spent the entire day there, alafu wakarudi. After kufika tu hivi, deme yake akamwambia, "Sintakukall," akaishia. And that guy was left so beat down because he was expecting something at the end of this transaction. So I told him, "Hey bro, why don't you start doing things that you're doing for your girlfriend? Start doing them for yourself. Take yourself to the best restaurant. Start treating yourself like the person who matters most in your life. Because she doesn't. She's going to find somebody else who will do things for her that you cannot. So make yourself such a big deal. Start doing the best things for yourself. Start treating yourself with a lot of honor and respect and just spoiling yourself with good things. Because to everyone else, as soon as you're absent, it will not affect them. And at that point, it will hit you, and it will be too late. That you spent all this time trying to impress people, changing the way you do things, changing the way you think, changing even the way you talk to impress people who don't give a fuck about you. So how about you change it, reverse that whole thing into you matter to you. Your opinion matters to you. That's why mimi ukuja hapa, I turn on this camera and I just speak my opinion. Because it's my opinion. Like it or hate it, shauri yako. I'm just going to speak it out. And that's how I feel. And I'm not going to change it to please you because I know that I don't matter to you. If your absence doesn't bother them, then your presence never really mattered. Do enjoy your day. See you in the next video. Peace.